right, everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and kick things off. So, thank you again for returning or showing up for the first time, whichever the case may be. So, again, Tech Foundations. It's a fairly new group that I started up just to kind of have various talks and discussions on topics that I think are relevant or the speakers think are relevant to people trying to either get into or newly into the industry. So, certainly excited about tonight. Emily Schweiss is going to be our speaker. She is with Treehouse, so anybody with Code Louisville certainly is well familiar with Treehouse, but just in case you're not, it's an online platform for learning software development, and I'm sure you'll probably talk a little bit more about it maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not going to sales pitch. No, I hate that.
Fair enough. So, anyway, I'll talk a little bit more about the upcoming talks at the end of the session, but I'll say that if anybody has any topics that they want to see, please don't hesitate to send your ideas to me over Meetup, Slack, email, whatever you want. Always looking for new ideas, new speakers, things of that nature. Also, if anybody knows of a good place for a new host, we're kind of reaching the bounds of this place, plus I don't like the parking situation. So if anyone has any good ideas, certainly open those to reach out to. So yeah, without further ado, I will go ahead and hand it off to Emily. Again, she's with Treehouse and formerly Adecco as a recruiter, and also Rawlings Group as well in HR and recruiting. So, so Emily's here to talk about Imposter Syndrome, which is something that we all face, and we're going to learn a lot about tonight. So
yes,
it's all yours.
Thank you. I will piggyback on one thing Brian said real quick. If there's a talk you want to see here and no one's giving it, you could be the person.
Yes.
So,
and it doesn't have to be like a
short.
one-directional talk either. If you have like a discussion idea or lightning talks or something else.
It doesn't have to be technical. I don't know how to code, so. All right, so I'll start with the part I hate. My introduction. Hi, I'm Emily. I work at Treehouse. I'm on the customer success team, and I work with all these nerds here. They probably have familiar faces if it weren't pixelated. Sorry about that. So basically, I help big clients and organizations like Code Louisville be successful when they're launching a program using Treehouse. So I've been with Code Lou since before it was Code Lou, so I'm excited to be with it. So that's a little bit about me. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at mshwa. That's also my Slack handle on the Code Lou Slack if you want to hit me up for any conversations or questions. I also help run IT Happy Hour, and you can check out that group on Facebook. We meet the second Tuesday of every month now at False Idol Brewers. It's amazing. If you haven't been there yet, they just opened last week. You should definitely go. I am a fur mom to 3 dorks. This is Lumberjack, Booger, and Fuzzface. My husband's a librarian. Trying to think of what else about me. Oh, I make my own clothes for fun because you can't get pockets otherwise, right, ladies? Yeah, everyone knows that. All right, so enough about me. That's the awkward part. Let's talk about the dragon in the room, so to speak. So I'll get into like an official definition in a moment here, but who all is familiar with Imposter Syndrome? Assuming everybody is, right? All right, so who would say they've struggled with it personally or are currently struggling with it? Yeah? How would you say it's changed for any of you as you've gone into tech? Whether you're like fully working in tech or you're still in Code Lou, do you feel it on a different level now with that new stuff you're learning maybe? Yeah? I get that. It sucks, doesn't it? I get that too. We all do. And it's really tricky, especially in technology, right? Because every day there's like a brand new JavaScript framework, and there's some dude sitting next to you who's like an expert on it, and you're like, how in the world? Why don't I know anything? Why can't I keep up? I'm a hack, they're gonna figure it out, and it's all gonna be over, right? And it's stressful, and it drives you crazy, especially in tech. Not only in tech, but especially in tech. So this whole time you're freaking out, but I'm here to tell you you're not a fraud. You're not a fraud at all, okay? Everyone feels like this at some point in their lives. It's not just related to your career. It can be related to any role you play as a wife like myself or sister or anything. Like, you feel it all over the place. But it happens so frequently in software because everything changes constantly. So you are always working with new stuff. You can't avoid it. You just can't, right? So you're constantly gonna feel a little bit unstable, a little bit like you have no clue what's going on, and that's okay. That's just part of it. And you probably signed up for this career because you actually like a challenge, right? You probably kind of enjoy figuring out puzzles and solving them. Like, you wanted this. You just didn't realize that this was going to be part of it. And this is the part that but we're gonna look at how to like reframe it and make it not be so defeating for us today, okay? So, pardon me in my notes, but it makes me calm down and not feel so nervous. So let's look at the real definition. Imposter syndrome is a concept describing high-achieving individuals who are marked by an inability to internalize their accomplishments and a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. We hear this all the time, right? And it's that imposter feeling, that feeling of a fraud that haunts us when we talk about this. But I want us today to shift our focus to the inability to internalize their accomplishments. Because I think that's actually the heart of the problem, and this is just the effect that it has. So we get stuck in this feeling, but we can address this. We can do something about this and actually internalize those accomplishments, okay? So we're gonna talk about some ways to start to do that today. So let's look at 3 different frameworks to help us slay this. Number 1, and this was a big one for me, a huge learning moment in my life, it's not just luck. Anytime I would have something good happen, like at work or at home, whatever it was, and someone would be like, congrats! I hate spotlights, I hate compliments. I'd shrink up and be like, oh, I just got lucky. Every time, I would say that. And I finally had a colleague come up to me and he was like, stop it. You did not get lucky. You put in a ton of work to get to this point, and you need to realize how much work led you to this moment that feels lucky, right? It didn't just happen to you, right? So you finally figure out the bug in your code. I don't care if it was a missing semicolon. You found it and you got to that point. You need to recognize it for a moment. You didn't just get lucky. You worked really hard to get there and understand what was happening and know what you need to change, okay? And a lot of us forget those shiny moments where we finally have an aha and figure it out because they're way outnumbered by the grueling moments and all those mistakes that lead us up to it, right? And I'm really good, I'm probably not alone here, at berating myself for like every tiny little mistake I make. Anyone else really good about that? Yeah, you got a really good negative self-talk voice that tells you suck all the time? Yeah, we'll talk about that too. So having someone point that out to me was a huge help. Huge help. So what I want you to take away from this particular framework is owning your awesome. Like when you have those moments where you finally get to the aha moment, I don't care how many failures there were leading up to it, celebrate it. Just take a moment, pat yourself on the back and be like, I did it. I didn't know I could do it, but I did it. And really celebrate that moment. And this is hard to do. And I'm not saying that the moment Jamie, this colleague, told me that I wasn't lucky and all that I was like, oh, I'm cured. This is great now. Not at all. Not at all. I still struggle with this, and this was like 6 years ago. So yeah, I'm still a hot mess, don't worry. But the big thing it did is it made me mindful of that issue. And that's huge. Like the moment you become mindful of what's triggering this and what's causing it is the moment you can start to take control of it and change it. So I just want you to be mindful of it. That's something we can all do, right? That's simple to do. Call yourself out a little bit when you see it and take a moment and celebrate the things that you do right. Because you're doing a lot more right? We saw in the definition, we're high-achieving individuals if we have imposter syndrome. That means you're doing a lot of good stuff. So just celebrate those moments when they come up. Does that make sense? Okay. How about these moments? We don't got this, yeah? Anyone have one of those today? Yeah, it's fine, it's cool. You're not alone. So we talked a little bit about how the process often has mistakes along the way. And that sucks, right? Like you just feel stuck in it. Like you can't move forward. You're just screwing up, trying to push forward to get to your end result, and nothing's moving. So when I get to that moment, I like to think about things like WD-40. It's one of my favorite examples. Don't spray yourself with it. But the way it got its name, it's called water displacement number 40, because it was his 40th attempt to make it. He tried 39 times and it totally failed, and it was his 40th one. There are a lot of inventions that have their name that way, Formula 409, anyone? There are several that follow this. It's a common thing. Almost any cool thing that has come about was a series of failures and one big success. And that's the same for you. And you have to realize that you have those moments too. And understand that as you're going through that grueling mistake after mistake after mistake, you're learning a lot. You're learning so much. As long as you're not repeating the same mistake 50 times in a row, you're doing great. Like seriously, that's it. It's okay to screw up. It's okay to screw up over and over. Just make sure you're morphing, you're taking something along with you for the next phase, and just continue to grow. It's part of the process. It is not a failure. It is just part of the process. So a big thing about this, aside from owning your mistakes internally, that I would say, is to voice them, share the load a little bit. Don't be afraid to reach out to a fellow student, a colleague, a friend, anyone else who kind of understands what you're dealing with or working on, and say, I'm stuck. I am so stuck. I've tried this so many times, I'm banging my head against the wall. Help, please help, right? That does a lot of things. One, it lets you share the load, lets you not feel so alone when you're stuck in this like deep, dark place. It lets them know that you screw up too, because they've probably dealt with it. Even if they're not in that moment, you're helping that person see that we're all human. We're all trying to figure this thing out. They might not know the answer either, but you've got someone to work along with and someone to learn along with too, right? So help share that load. Make sure other people know that you need help from time to time. One of the best things I've ever done in my life, professionally and personally, is be fully transparent and full of empathy and make sure people know exactly what's going on. Like, here are all my flaws, here I am in all my messy glory, but that's okay. And time again, I've had that happen to let other people open up about an issue they maybe weren't able to talk about, whether it's personal or professional. So there's a lot of good that comes from this cycle. So I highly recommend that you employ this in work and in other places, actually. And while it's important to lean on others when you get stuck, I would say it is just as important to go the other way. There are going to be times when you're the smart person in the room, and you're the one who knows the new fancy JavaScript thing that came out. No one else does, right? Don't be a jerk. Okay? Don't add to anyone else's misery. Take that moment instead to help, right? Reach out and say, let me show you this cool new thing I figured out. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it, right? So you're recognizing your own accomplishment and you're helping someone else learn a thing and easing their pain that they're feeling from imposter syndrome at the same time. That's a big deal, right? That's a lot that you can do for another person that's also helping yourself. And those are some of the best things. To reiterate owning your knowledge, I would just like to say that I think we all know that the struggle with learning all this stuff is real, right? And a lot of times the thoughts that we have about ourselves are really irrational. But it doesn't seem like that. It seems like we're just stuck and horrible people. So I just want to make sure that you know it's not you. Pull back the curtain, let people see the flaws, and let people see when you shine as well. Does that make sense? All right, so as we work to shift our perspective on owning the things that make us awesome, the mistakes we all make, and that's okay, they're part of the process, and the knowledge, let's talk about some things that can be in your arsenal, like some specifics that you can do to help get over this stuff, right? We have the basic framework, so let's get into some specifics. So I'm gonna share a few things that I've learned, a few tips I've heard from other people, and then I would love to see if you all wanna chat about things that have worked for you. So let's jump in. Spread your joy. So my educational background is in psychology and sociology, actually, and the best life lesson I learned while I was in school was to spread yourself amongst many things that you can draw happiness and confidence from. If you define yourself as one thing, I am a software developer, and that's it. You have a crappy day as a software developer, you have a crappy day. There's nothing else for you to lean on, right? So this is why I do things like sew or cook. I love those things. Yeah, they're not as important as my day job, but sometimes I just need to go cook a thing or build a thing and know I can do it and get that confidence boost. I don't care if it's a grilled cheese sandwich, which are delicious by the way, but something simple. Sometimes you just need an easy win to boost yourself back up. So explore hobbies. I don't care what it is: photography, gardening, painting, anything, hiking, any of that stuff. Find a hobby. Or other interests, or pet your cat, I don't care, but find something where you can be like, at least I did this well today. I'm not a total failure, because you're gonna have days as a software developer where in that slice of your life, maybe you feel like you were, but balance it out with a few other things, and you'll be amazed at what a difference it makes in your perspective. It's a big deal, and it's great to have multifaceted people anyway, because we're more interesting, right? So another thing I love is flexing your grit muscle. Becky Steele gave an awesome talk on this. When was that?
Last year.
Yeah, it was amazing. Grit is an amazing thing, and y'all have it if you're in this field, whether you know it or not. But I like to practice it in other ways. Like, I know I need it at work, but sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes you have a day where you're just like worn out. But I've learned if I go running or I hike a lot, something like that, where it's like slow progress, but I can see over time that I'm getting faster, or I don't know, going further, hiking higher, steeper climbs, any of that stuff. I feel like I can see that progress and know that I'm like, the more I put into something, no matter how slow that progress is, the more I improve, right? And it helps me when I go back to work and have like something stressful to like push through, and it's taking like months, right? We've had those month-long projects before that are never gonna end. It really helps in those moments because you know you can get to the end. Slow progress will make it there. So that's something that's worked really well for me. There are a lot of ways for you to flex your grit muscle, but yeah, hiking and running for me have been great. Yoga's another good one. Stand up for yourself. Anyone else really bad at this? I'm so bad at this, yeah. So a few ways I would recommend framing this. I would say one kind of easy thing you can do is write a list of things you feel like you're good at. Skills that you have confidence in. I don't care if they're related to the thing that has you down right now. Just a list of things you feel good about, right? That you can do and reference it. If you're having a down moment, just read it and know that it's like a letter to yourself that I can do these things, right? I'm not a total failure. I know that sounds cheesy, I know it, but it helps. It really does to have that to reference. Be like, okay, I'm not that bad. I can handle this, right? Another way to frame this is to talk to yourself like you're your best friend, right? Like if your BFF calls you and they, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, like they're on a diet, they ate a donut and they're devastated and they're just gonna stop, right? Like we've all been there, donuts are delicious. You want to berate them, right? You want to call them fatty. You would just say, hey, it's okay, 2 calories, like let's go for a walk and let's figure out what we're gonna eat tomorrow. It's gonna be healthy, it's gonna be fine, you got this, right? That's what you would tell them. Why don't you do that for you? You don't, right? You kick yourself for it. Every time. Talk to yourself like you're your best friend. You would never beat them up. Don't do that to you. It's a great way to think about it. There's a podcast I love called The Hilarious World of Depression. As someone who suffers from depression as well, it's been super helpful. It's fantastic. They interview like all sorts of well-known people who struggle with depression, a lot of comedians and stuff. Hence the name, Hilarious World. So they did a whole episode on Imposter Syndrome, and I was like, yes, score. So someone had a tip that they use when they're trying to stand up for themselves. They frame it a little differently than I do. I like the best friend thing. They pretend they have to sell themselves to a room full of people they hate. You ever had that person where you're like, man, if I ran into them, I would give them like the Facebook version of me where everything's perfect, right? Right? So talk to yourself that way. Like, how would you sell yourself if you were faced with that situation? It's just a way to help you frame the parts you would highlight and pull out those positives. I know it sounds silly, and yes, it's a bit of a trick. I still prefer the best friend version, but hey, whichever works, like, do it, for sure. But it's super helpful. It just reframes how you view yourself, right? I think this also works really well to combat that negative self-talk that we get, right? The thing that tells you constantly you're not enough. Yeah, sorry if that's a triggering phrase, I know it is for me. One thing I've learned is to give it a name when you hear it. I call mine chatter. It doesn't have to be a real name, it's just chatter. Give it a name, and when it happens and it comes up, call it out. Call it out by name. Tell it to shut up. Tell it you are enough. And over time, you'll hear it less and less. I've worked really hard on this for the past 18 months. It's amazing. I barely hear it now. It comes up, especially on days when I'm nervous, like today. It's still in there, but it's so much easier to like call it out, single it out, right? And realize that it's not me. It's just this pesky anxiety talk that's happening, and I can put a stop to it. It's been a huge help for me. Any other tips that you all have used to work through any of this stuff? Quiet room.
Say go help someone who's less experienced. Just accomplishing it, because knowing where they have been and being able to sit there and go, even if it's just recognizing the struggle that they're in, helps reframe how far you've come. Usually, especially if you're a doable kind of stuff, giving back eventually when you get to that point will help you. Being able to explain it again to someone else, being able to, just push someone forward, whatever that is actually pushes you forward.
Definitely. That's a great tip. And I would piggyback on that and even say at times going back to revisit your old code, like your first project, you'll pull it up like a year from now and be like, oh, so cute. I don't know what I was thinking, that was adorable. But you'll notice your progress, right? Or maybe you'll think like, who the hell wrote this? And then realize it was you. It'll happen at some point. It'll definitely happen at some point. But it's a nice check to know like, I've progressed so much, I just didn't feel like it day to day, right? Great tip, Austin. Anyone else have any?
I have a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So in the words of Daniel Tiger, take 3 breaths and count to 5, and then try it again, because just relaxing and stepping away from it for a little bit, and then going back to it, you can see it with fresh eyes. And you might be able to find that semicolon that you just didn't know it was.
That is a great tip. I've learned meditation is very helpful, and it can be something as quick as that. Like, it sounds like this big endeavor to learn how to meditate, right? Where you can like have an empty brain for an hour. It doesn't work that way. Spoiler alert. That is great though. Like, just that many breaths can completely refresh you.
Thank Daniel Tiger.
You remembered it. You shared it. Internalize your accomplishment. Anyone else have a tip? Yeah.
Writing down successes. It doesn't have to be anything like super serious. It can be waking up at 10 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. and get success for me at least. So yeah, it helps writing it down just a few.
Definitely. Yeah, you can ask Brian. I bragged all day because I actually washed my hair instead of dry shampooing it. That was my big accomplishment this morning, so you're welcome. Yes.
So it's probably too literal a translation, but I wear body armor. Like, I put on plating of some sort. Not like real body armor, but like sometimes it is lipstick when I'm at home in my pajamas, and I know that thing is going to be really damn hard. Like, I go to the bathroom and pick my favorite color and put it on. It's so ridiculous.
No,
But it's
true.
like, I can go into it like I've got my armor on. Sometimes it's fuzzy socks, or like today it's astronomer socks.
Yes.
Great. But I don't know, it's like you're walking into the thing with confidence. I don't know,
Totally.
there's something about that.
I get that. That resonates with me big time. I mentioned I sew. I make all my own clothes. And it helps me flex my grip muscle. It gives me another area where I'm successful. And then I go wear a dress that I made. There's pockets in there, right? In public, and it doesn't fall apart. That's great. But it's a big confidence boost where it's like, I did a thing. There was a day I made a dress, and it stayed a dress, and I did a thing. And it feels like armor. And that's a big reason why I've gone on this crazy endeavor with the man wardrobe. So, totally get that. I hate lipstick.
I don't wear it. That's the only time.
Any other tips? These are fun. These are good tips. Yeah.
I'm big on talking through it with somebody that I trust, whether it's my wife or somebody in mentor type role, or oftentimes my direct manager. Like, I've gone to my managers in the past and just been like, I don't feel like I'm getting this. And they will either A, help you find a way to get it, or B, identify, no, you actually are making more progress than I expected you to be making. Like, managers often set higher goals that they want you to hit, but are perfectly happy if you don't make it all the way there. So just talking it out with somebody else, you'll usually identify, it's not as bad as it may sound.
Totally, right? Like sharing that load and having fresh eyes that aren't even yours to look at.
It's also a form of talk therapy, so.
Yes, talk therapy. Even if it's to yourself, it's fine. Sometimes it's the only intelligent conversation you can have, right? Any other tips? Or current struggles where like someone help, please. It's fine. It's a safe place. Nothing? Those are the tips I have. I want you to slay, as Beyonce would say. I know you guys can do this, right? So you have some basic frameworks to work on, and then some basic tips you can take home. I can find a way to share this information, maybe via Meetup, if people want
Yeah.
like links to that podcast or anything like that, happy to share, or hit me up on social or Slack or whatever too. So, yeah. Any questions?
Any experiences anyone's ever been through that they want to share or
I'm an open book.
seek advice on?
Just be warned before you ask a question. I'm a very open book. So, yeah. Any questions about anything? Imposter syndrome? Yeah.
What about being in a, like a toxic environment and everything?
Toxic
What
environments.
advice for someone going through?
Get out.
Yeah, it's not worth the effort.
As someone who like worked in a toxic environment for 4 years, it is soul killing and crushing. So get out, but that's not always an option to do quickly, right? Because we need the monies to pay the bills. So what I did in that situation is had kind of my bubble of people I knew I could trust, and it was small. It was very small, but they're still good friends of mine all these years later. So have that bubble, find your happiness in that space, right? So like for me, it was a very toxic environment. I was in HR, so I was like, at least I can be a buffer for some other people, and that made it easier for me to go to work each day, even though I had the Sunday nights stomach rumbles. Anyone else get those after a bad job? Yeah, that's fun. So try to seek out those things so that you have something you can look forward to, some light in all of that. But seriously, the best thing is to get out. And if it's one person causing the toxicity, talk to who you need to if possible. I know it's not always possible to have them removed, but if that can't happen, then remove yourself. If you want to talk through that in more detail, then like, we totally can. I was in a situation where the person couldn't be removed, like, so, and what do you do, right? So I totally understand how tricky that is. But yeah, great time to network to help you get out.
Say, in that situation, having also been something similar and having a timeline of where one couldn't exit before that, leaning on the spread your joy part. I had to rejigger my thought process to identify less with what I was doing in my job and lean a lot heavier on everything else in my life to identify that as a success. So it didn't matter as much that that was going as poorly, and sometimes it stung, for sure. But along the lines of leaning heavily on the interpersonal stuff with other people and having a rant situation where I could occasionally just go and rant without judgment, and then finding the other wins. To lean on like, that's shitty, but hey, damn it, my iris garden is fucking awesome. Everybody's jealous of that sucker. Or
I'm
just
jealous now.
anybody. Yeah. And so yeah, there was definitely a lot of that until I could get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Because it's not always immediate, unfortunately.
Yeah, life's going on still, right? So you're kind of stuck. But yeah, make it a smaller slice of your pie, as much as you can, for sure. That's a great tip. Yeah.
Any advice for those of us who are looking for jobs? Like its own special kind of terrible. And I know, like, for me, I'm just, like I've had a couple sort of rejections, and it's easy to get caught in that mental trap of like, nobody's ever going to want to hire me. And,
Totally understand. Yes, so job seeking is just like dating. There's gonna be a lot of frogs. You're gonna have a lot of crappy first dates that don't go anywhere, but that's actually okay, right? Because you probably don't end up wanting them anyway. So try to reframe it like that and know that the right one will be out there. It doesn't have to be the one for like a lifetime, and you have to marry it. But just know like it's gonna be a process until you both match, right, on each of your respective sides. You've got like at least two humans making this connection. And sometimes it just doesn't sync up, even though you want it to, right? And I promise it's actually not personal. It really sucks to send those rejection letters. I always hated that part of HR. Because there's some people you really like, and usually you can't. So it's really not personal. I also hate selling myself, and that's kind of what you have to do in an interview, right? Anyone else hate that? Yeah. Anyone like it?
Anyone who raises their hand is a liar.
Becky's always the weirdo, so yeah. I don't know what's happening. So rehearse it. Like get your elevator pitch down where you can say in like 30 seconds, here's who I am, here's what I can do, and here's what I want to do with you. Like, get that going, because you know right away they're going to ask you, tell us about yourself, right? And they don't want to hear your personal sagas. They don't. Some people say that in interviews. Don't do that. Don't be that person. But have that pitch crafted, and it is a pitch. As much as I hate sales, it is a pitch where you're letting them know what you want to do for them, right? And then the other thing I would do for interviews is queue up some accomplishments that you've had, right? Those things we're supposed to internalize now. Think of those times when you were you had a shining moment at work, and think about every angle you can tell that story from, showcasing the skills you want to highlight for this employer, because they're skills you want to use, and they're skills that the employer wants too, right? That's how you know which ones to highlight. And you'll be prepared with 3 stories you can tell from different angles to answer their questions, and you'll look awesome, because most people don't do that. So that would be my little bits of advice. My other advice is network, which you all are here, so good job. But network. That's how you make connections. That's how you can bypass the most painful parts of the job process, right? The black hole of clicking submit online. I hate that thing. Hate that button every time. Or going through that vetting process of oh, we just don't click, right? We just don't match. If you're networking and you meet a few people on a team somewhere and you click as people, you'll probably click at the company, right? Chances are the culture they like will be one that you like every day too, and they might even slip your name to the hiring manager, and you bypass a lot of things. Treehouse didn't even read my resume until I had my offer letter. That's a thing, you can do that. I had it all shiny and pretty and ready to go, but they didn't even read it until I read the offer. And I got the job from networking, and someone slid my name. So I promise you can do that too. That's how all the good jobs happen. So network.
For me, one thing that really helped me was learning how the other side of the equation works. When I was my first few jobs, I applied. Literally, I set goals for myself. I will apply to 3 jobs today and 15 jobs this week, and I will do that consistently for as many weeks as it takes, and it sucks. And did that, several jobs. And then when I was finally in a position where I was on the hiring side and sorting through resumes, you post the jobs and you get literally hundreds of resumes sometimes. And it's just a logistical impossibility to even read every resume, let alone contact everybody. And just knowing that how the process works, eases it in my mind, knowing that I may have been a great candidate and they just never got to my resume because I was number 75, and they found somebody that looked good enough at 15.
It's such a broken process.
Yeah, the hiring process is a total mess, and don't even get me started on how interviews are a terrible way to hire somebody.
The hiring process and interviews are more like Dunning-Kruger than Imposter Syndrome.
Yes.
It thinks it's great, but it's not.
Yeah, interviewing is a great way to, we're getting off topic now, but interviewing is a great way to ensure your culture becomes more and more insular. And yes.
I think that's why it's better to network, because then you know more culture, you know more people, and so you'll avoid more of those toxic situations because you'll know more before you go in.
Right?
Because any of the jobs I did was a hire, and that's the first time I met them. Were not great jobs, all jobs where it was they knew me, next position we both in, we're gonna get you, and they were great.
Yeah, totally. That's the way to do it. It really, and it's like dating again, right? If a friend setting you up with someone, Jesus, that would actually kind of work out versus, I don't know, we're going to do this bar, right? You had a question?
To your point about the job thing, when I came out of undergrad for grad school, I was looking for a gig, and most of those applied for 40, maybe 100 jobs, and it was not happening. It was very demoralizing. And phone interviews, I got picked up by a very small company. Small companies are best. Small companies are best. They will actually care about you. That little small company that picked me up, they're actually a vendor for some of the companies that I applied for that didn't want me. But they were like, we'll take it, it's fine. They paid me 4 times what that job was. So just an FYI, I wouldn't get discouraged at all. You never know.
Yeah, and it's amazing once you get that job. When I look back at jobs I missed out on and was upset about, I'm like, dude, I work from home now. I can pet my cat while I'm typing an email. This is awesome. awesome.
Thank you for not hiring me.
Yeah.
This networking thing. What if,
It's a pesky thing, isn't it?
what if your brain takes that advice and then it like reframes a social encounter as like a sort of ambiguous interview?
Social anxiety is fun,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
I suffer from it greatly, which is ironic because I run a networking event. And every once in a while I won't go because I just can't. So I understand. And when you run the event, that's really awkward. If someone like me telling me, like, you'd be there tonight? Nope, can't leave my house. So I understand. Find the type of event that works well for you. Some are purely social, and that's either thrilling or terrifying, right? So like the one I ran, IT Happy Hour, for someone with social anxiety is really hilarious because all we do is sit around and drink a beer. I've made a great choice. But you can find some that are going to be more presentation style where like you chit chat for like 5 minutes, and then you sit there and watch a thing. And then you can either like escape right away or chit chat for 5 more minutes. So there's a little more insulation there, right? So your introverted soul can retreat to the dark corner later, right? It's a little easier to do. I also like hackathons because you have a thing to do. So you don't feel pressure to like make small talk or give your elevator pitch like 10 times in a row, or slide business cards or anything like that. Like you're working on a thing, and likely with someone or several people, and they're gonna see your style and you're gonna see theirs. You'll learn some things. You'll figure out who you kind of jive with too, and that can lead to some great opportunities. Plus you're probably building experience for your resume at the same time. So I would look at networking events in those 3 kind of buckets, and there might be other buckets I'm not thinking of.
Volunteering for Codepalooza.
Volunteering for Codepalooza, right?
That's a thing.
That's a great thing. Yeah, I also help run Codepalooza, which is a software development conference here. And Tina Maddox, who is a Code Louisville grad, runs the volunteers now. So you can reach out to her next year when we get ready. And that's a great way to network with people. And usually you'll have a task to do, right? So you're not caught up in like that interview mindset. You're just doing a thing, but you're rubbing elbows with like speakers. Like, I'm a speaker right now, so that sounded really pompous. It's not like actual technical speakers who like travel the world and do this, right? Like legit speakers. And you get to meet really interesting people. I know. It's cool. Like that's a great way to do it. But anything where you have like a task at hand, like a hackathon or volunteering for a conference, is amazing because for me it takes the pressure off. I'm distracted by the thing I'm trying to do, and then the networking just happens. Which is also why I run events, because there's stuff to do, and then it just kind of happens, and you become known, and you're like, I showed up to drink a beer. So yeah. Yeah.
You could find a buddy to go with you.
Yes, buddy system's great. That's an awesome way to do it. Find a friend, especially that friend who will push you a little bit to go talk to people instead of just talking with them in the corner the whole time, right? Another thing I like to do at a networking event, you'll notice other wallflowers in the room, right? We're all easy to spot. We know it's fine. Go up to them and save them. Like, be their hero. Walk up and be like, hey, is this your first time here? This is mine too. And I told myself I'd meet one person, and they probably told themselves the same thing, and I saved them, right? Or rescue the person who's like stuck in a conversation that you can tell they really want out of, and be their hero. Like you'll make an instant friend, and there's no pressure on you, right? Because you're like saving them in that moment. Like they love you automatically. So those are some great ways to like interject yourself with strangers, and it's not super awkward. You're actually helping them a lot. Yeah.
What do you never think of
Out of state. Great question. I work for a company in Portland, Oregon. You can network online. Doesn't just have to be LinkedIn. There are all sorts of interesting hackathon type things you can do for nonprofits that you might be able to like work on some open source projects, right? And connect with people all over. I would look for opportunities like that, and maybe Slack communities or other forums that are set up for like by topic or whatever instead of region, and see if there's a way to get to know people, especially if you have a certain region in mind. That's probably your best bet, especially looking for like open source projects and whatnot that you can work with people from all over on. Conferences are good for that too, because people come in from all over. And if you volunteer, Coco, you can maybe get in for free.
my imposter syndrome comes from, I'm watching the Treehouse videos, and then I'm like, I got this, I'm good, I know what I'm doing, and then like I come to write my own project or my project, I'm like, while you're there and you're in it, you're like, I'm ready, I think I'm ready to apply for jobs, I know what I'm doing, I think I can get this, and then you go to do your own projects, and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I get discouraged, because I'm like, I'm gonna look like a buffoon if I try to go apply now, because I don't think I can answer any of the questions that come with this, because I got it when I was learning it, but I don't feel like I got it when I'm not.
That makes
How do you,
total
how do you
sense.
deal with that?
So a few things. One, anyone who works in development currently can probably back me up on this, but once you're in the job, you don't remember that crap either. You copy and paste a lot of code and tweak it, right? You look up stuff, you become a master Googler, and you're like, oh great, I learned that once upon a time. So take a little pressure off of yourself. Those people that already have the job were in the same shoes, and still are. But you still have to get past the interview, right?
Right. 'Cause my brother-in-law and another friend of mine have pretty much in a roundabout way just said, like, fake it till you make it.
I would say that to a point, but with transparency. So when you're in an interview, not everyone at the table will know the answer to every question, but someone in the room knows the answer to each question, right? So you don't want to BS your way through it, because they'll know. Trust me, someone will know, and they'll collectively talk. But I would say you get a lot of points for showing your work. Walk them through the extent you do know, and say, this is what I recall, this is what I figured out on it, I haven't gotten that far. Any of those things, show what you do know, or ask for resources on where you can learn it. Like, they'll love that you're eager to learn, right? They'll love that you're willing to show how much you do know instead of making stuff up. And I know it sounds weird, but technical interviews, like, they're waiting for the moment where you top out and say, I don't know. We often didn't hire the people that said, like, had an answer for everything. But the people who were willing to be like, I don't know, or I half know, like, they were great, right? Because they're also great to work with. Good collaborators, right? So don't be afraid to not know stuff. Know that they expect it, especially for your first job. They know you're not a pro. They know that probably better than you know. It's weird, I know, but it's true. So just don't be afraid to be transparent about it. And also, if you end up in a situation where they're asking like quiz-style questions, like, that's an annoying interview. Like, maybe you don't want to work there anyway. So see how it goes. It's practice, right? Or if it's one where you have to like whiteboard something and you're like, like, don't be afraid if you have a mental block to do like pseudocode. They're looking more for your problem-solving approach and logic than your semicolons. Again, if they're looking for the semicolons, you probably don't want to work there anyway. So just be willing to like talk about your thought process and approach as well, and don't devalue how much that brings to the table and how much that's actually what they're looking for, right? Like, everyone can write the same perfect code statement that they just wrote on Treehouse, right? And it's right there. But your style that you bring to it, and you'll see this the more you look at other people's code and try to figure out spaghetti code. That'll be a fun one for y'all to learn. Everyone has their own style that they bring to the table. Don't be afraid to show that off. That's your special sauce, right? So walk them through your perspective on it, your problem solving, and your logic if you get stuck. Does that help? And practice, especially those annoying quiz questions. Just practice. You can go online and do code katas to like practice different problems on the fly. There's a lot of great resources out there.
For your project too. The thing about working in the industry is it's more like group storytelling. Everybody's working on it. It's not you just by yourself starting from scratch, which is the other thing. The number of times we'll start from scratch is nigh on 0.
Yeah.
So you will go in and you will work on something that's existing. So if you're having that blank IDE problem, like starting your first novel, don't do that. Maybe you're trying to write an epic saga. You need to write a short story, all right? Scope down your project. That's what I see a lot of my students doing, is they try to choose something too big, too fast. Make it smaller, or go find another template and make it a little different, and then make it a little more different, and then make it a little more different, until finally it's something that's bigger and more you, and it'll be easier at starting from scratch. So don't be afraid to build off of somebody else's work to make your own thing, and make it smaller. Too big and you choke on it.
That is great advice, and I've heard that from like code blue grads when they get to their first job. They're like, "Oh my god, I'm working on this big project. I'm part of this team. I don't know what to do." And they've had like their manager say, "Breathe, right? Step away, breathe," and just worry about this little part of it, just this. right? Don't let the rest scare you. So it's that scope thing. Like, just worry about this. You got this. You can do this. And oftentimes when you break it down to that little level, it's a little less scary. And it's like easier to get to the finish line. It's quicker, right? So you get that boost of confidence once you do a thing, and then you can struggle through the next one. But yeah, that's great advice to bring the scope down. Yeah.
Anyone's like me and basically watches like YouTube videos a lot. There's this guy on YouTube named Sean, and he basically used Treehouse and he was developed in like 3 months. And his entire YouTube channel is like him like chronicling where he started. Like he talks about imposter syndrome, and now he was like entrepreneur magazine doing like all this cool stuff. So it's really like inspiring if you feel like imposter syndrome. You just go watch and say, okay, if he can do it, then I can do it. So.
Yep. I haven't met him yet, but a lot of people on our team have. He's awesome. So yeah. What's his name? Chris Sean, is that correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions or thoughts?
I guess just a point that I'll kind of add, or you kind of touched on it, but the dragon is a metamorph. It will find new ways to manifest itself over and over and over again. I mean, my career has been I've been developer, project manager, recruiter, and I'm with Code Louisville, and it always finds a new way to show its face. I don't know how to be a developer. I'm going to screw this project out. Oh, I got this project. New project. Oh, nope. I didn't know it. I only figured out one project. I don't know what to do. And then, project management. Now I have to manage people. Oh my God. So, it's. I guess this is a warning that this is not. We're talking about slaying the dragon, but there's more dragons out there.
Yeah.
So.
Very true. I've had many.
You don't conquer this and everything's smooth sailing. It's a fight.
You don't grow out of it. I'm sorry. At least I haven't yet. 38, so we'll see. I'll keep trying. It just doesn't go away. You're right. And like I think as you age, you also realize everyone else is winging it too. It takes a little bit to get there, but we're all winging it, so it's okay. Yeah.
Listen, beat it in metaphor too. There's always a way to slay it in any game or anything. There's always a way to beat it. You just have to find it. So if it's learning a new skill or a new way, or maybe something you forgot you knew. So it's really good metaphor.
Yeah. Thanks. I thought so.
Internal.
I'm internalizing that accomplishment. Any other questions or comments or helpful hints? Yeah.
How do you know when it's imposter syndrome versus you actually suck, or you?
Oh, that's a great question, especially the way you phrased it. That's fantastic. I mean, sometimes we do just kind of suck at a thing, like, to be honest, right? I actually really suck at writing code. It just doesn't click with me. But I'm great at helping other people learn how to, so that works out. If you feel like it's really defeat after defeat after defeat with no wins, like, do a check. Check in with people you trust and know. Get those sounding boards and like confirm it, right? Find out, like, is this the right thing for me? Am I even enjoying this? Like, do I have moments where I'm like, okay, it was a crap day, but the last 3 were great, and I'm excited to go at it again and try it? Or is it all dark skies, right? Like, just get a gut check on how you're feeling about it, and then ask trusted people as well. And I mean, sometimes we have to let things go. It's just not our thing anymore. I just stopped running because I injured myself. That sucked. I hated giving it up. I don't miss it now. It's like something, which is sad. But sometimes you just have to give things up. So don't be afraid to if you get to that point. But like, check with yourself first and make sure you're enjoying the thing, and that it's not just your head, that negative self-talk, that chatter telling you that you suck. Like, get a second opinion, or third, or fourth. From people you know, maybe from strangers online, right? Like, share some code, see what people have to say about it, and just figure out, am I just new at this and still learning, or am I just never going to get it? Chances are you're still new at learning, honestly. But don't rely on your brain to tell you, because it lies sometimes. Yeah.
I would add to that.
Yes.
All really good points. Not everyone is meant to do the code writing every day, but there might still be a role for you to contribute to within the software industry with your innate skills. Whether that's project management or technical recruiting or
QA.
QA, my God, if you can find other people's things that need fixing, that's amazing. Technical writing, all of these things are perfectly acceptable jobs within the software industry and are no less glamorous. They're really great.
Just as much needed, yeah. Like, if I ever went into tech, like, properly, like, I love UX and QA. Like, I would end up in those arenas before code. QA is a great one, and I love when people realize they should be in QA. Like, they realize all along they nitpicked on everyone's grammar on Facebook. Their resume is perfect. They love seeing when a thing's broken, but it's kind of a pain in the butt for them to, like, build it from scratch, right? Like, you're wired for QA, go into that, you'll love it. You will love it, right? And there are other people that, like, hate finding the flaws and would rather build something pretty from scratch and hope QA loves it, and they never do. So yeah, that's you, like, do that, right? Yeah, I had a developer I worked with years ago, and his personal email account was, "It works on my machine" app. So he was a developer, and QA was always sending him stuff. So yeah, like you fall somewhere in the SDLC, chances are. So if it's not quite clicking, you're not really enjoying it, like that's the big thing to listen to. See if there's a way to shift that skill set and knowledge, right? Like, I did sales, I hated it. I still use that knowledge. I did HR, it was a toxic environment, but I still use that organizational development knowledge. I designed kitchens, we laughed when I started with Code Blue, and I was helping set up the snack space. I was like, oh, I got this. It's amazing what your background can morph into, though. So it's still good experience, even if it ends up not being your final path. Great advice, Vicky. Anything else? Those are great questions.
Yeah.
No? That's all I've got.
All right.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. So the next meeting is in a little bit less than a month. It's November 12th, which is a Monday. And that's going to be with Sue Fries, Sue is, she's with Humana. She's the Director of Enterprise Architecture, I believe is her title. I think I got that slightly wrong. But Sue has been everywhere in the industry, technical, managerial. She's got a few decades of experience and is a fantastic speaker. So I would encourage everybody to make that one. She's awesome. She's started groups and talks and all kinds of stuff. Little tech lady, she started that one. So yeah, if you can make that one, it'll be fantastic. Encourage you to come. It's currently scheduled to be in this room, though. If anybody has any better venues, please send them my way. I'm working on a few other leads, but we'll see what comes of that.
What's the subject?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the subject?
Yeah, so she's calling it, her talk, Becoming the CEO of You Incorporated, Managing Your Career. So basically just drawing on her experience and talking about how to manage your career, how to make decisions, where to go, things like that. So
That's a great topic.
yes.
That's
I think it'll be
awesome.
fantastic. There will not likely be a December one because I will be out for a few days, and also December is just bad for things in general. And then January we'll start back up with what's currently scheduled to be a design panel. So if you were at the very first Tech Foundations, we had 4 developers. This next one will have 4 designers, UX, UI designers, people like that. So they'll be talking about design. And then February is going to be just blank on it. It's Chad Green.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the speaker, he's cool.
Yeah, so Chad Green is,
That's cool.
yes, Chad is cool. He's basically going to be talking about like a lot of terminology that gets thrown at you in your first few months in development and what those mean, and basically help you be able to talk the talk when you get into your first job.
He has a ton of experience interviewing junior and entry-level developers, like a wealth of
Yes.
knowledge in this. And he's the guy that actually runs Codepalooza as well, so he's a good guy to know. But yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. So, and then March, I'm hoping to do one on diversity in technology and benefits of that and why it needs to be worked on more. So.
Awesome.
But yeah, the thing I was going to say, what we were talking about was Codepalooza is a fantastic event, so you should volunteer for that if you can, and attend it if you can. A lot of people to meet, a lot of good topics, and yeah, I think that's about all I got. So again, if you have any topics you want to see or any video suggestions, please send them my way. And thank you all for coming tonight. And as you're leaving, you can take the elevator, but it only fits like 6 people, so there are stairs back that way that will take you down to the ground level.
Make new friends, get cozy.